Orchestra and Pipeman on W4CY Radio.
This is the Pipeman here on the Adventures of Pipeman W4CY Radio. And I'm very excited about our next guest because there is music dropping tomorrow that is like so badass. I can't even believe it. So let's welcome to the show, Devin Townsend. How are you?
I'm good, buddy. Thank you for having me on.
Oh, my pleasure. Or as you're probably better known as, Pissy Pants.
Mayor of Groovy Town, man.
Mayor of Groovy Town. I love it. I love it.
Not a title that one should sniff at, man. It takes a while to reach that echelon.
That's right. That's right. So I got to tell you, I was listening to the new album, before it comes out. And, oh my God, I felt like I was in a heavy metal Pink Floyd cinematic movie.
Yeah, man. I think the objective for the Moth was essentially like sort of like an audio cinema. It's like we're trying to make a soundtrack for a movie that doesn't exist, I guess, in a sense. So I appreciate the acknowledgement of that, man.
Well, it's funny because before I even read, I read something, but before I ever read it, I'm like, after listening to the music, I'm like, I was going to ask you, when's the movie going to come out? And then I read something that said it's basically like an unnamed movie. So I was like, the music definitely sends that message.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I think that the main objectives for any record that I have done throughout my career, and specifically this one, is to as accurately as is possible describe through sound like a period of time, right? Like and the past couple of years, I mean, I don't know what your past couple of years have been like, but it's been a little chaotic. And I think
it is a bit chaotic in a lot of ways.
So as a result of that, my typical way of writing music has always just been like whatever goes in is going to come out, right? And so having had such a chaotic few years, man, it's of no surprise that the music is as over the top and strange as it is. But again, the primary objective is to just be as accurate to the vision as possible. So in that regard, yeah, it's exactly what it needed to be.
Well, and to me, music is the best therapy, and it's got to take you on a journey. And I think we're kind of missing that in a lot of new music these days because of people's attention span. They make shorter songs, and it's all singles, and there's like no flow to it. That's why I mentioned the Pink Floyd factor, because like you listen to Dark Side, you go somewhere else, okay? Yeah. And you escape all the chaos. And I had that same feeling listening to your new album. It was like, I'm just on a journey somewhere,
Well, we're certainly all on journeys, right? And I think that the journey for me is it included all this work that I've done up to this point. And I've said in a couple interviews so far that there's, in my mind at least, a distinct before and after of the Moth. And moving forward, there will be all the work that I had done prior, like the Strappings and the Kingdoms and the Ziltoids and all that. And then there was this weird gray pylon in the road, which was the Moth. And then after that, it's now in a state of, okay, so what's the next phase for you in Good? And not necessarily even on a musical level, just like as a person, like where did you land? Like, where are you? And I think that if I ever had any advice for any musicians that are up and coming or younger musicians that maybe are looking to the career that I've had as, well, what would you do? It's like you just have to be doggedly in service of wherever you find yourself. And, these things turn on a dime, like life changes, loss and friends and money and all these things that go into it. You can't predict what is going to happen with your life. But as an artist, I think that the primary objective is like allowing your creative catalyst to sort of go in whichever direction that seems to like want to go. And I think for myself over the years, the amount of times that I've started a project in one place and then ended in another is like 80%. And it's always been to the chagrin of the record labels and whatever. They're like, you said this was going to be an easier record to cut. Said this was going to be this. And I'm like, I know, but the circumstances had something else in mind, right? So
I think that's what makes you a true musician, to be honest, because like I remember when I was playing guitar as a teenager, and I did suck, but my dad used to say, like, you should give that up. You don't even know what you're doing. And what I was doing at the time that he was saying, I was just like experimenting what sounds I could make it do, not like copy everybody else. I just wanted to experiment. And
yeah,
that's the vibe I got when I was listening to it. I'm like, oh man, that's something that I think we need coming back and is starting to come back, is that musicianship where you're experimenting and not just doing some cookie cutter thing to put something out there. You
yeah,
know,
it's a risk though. You know what I mean? To
it
do that,
is.
it's like specifically when the visions and the scale of those visions are as large as they tend to be with me. It's like every time you do something, it costs you everything, right? And to be willing to sort of put that sort of attention and focus onto ideas that are really not commercially viable is always been where my interest lay. And it's I've been doing it for so long now that I'm just like, I just keep pushing that as far as I can go. It's when somebody had said, what's the objectives of like what you're doing with your company or with your record label and all this, I'm like, well, I'll tell you what it is. It's like I like putting together a bunch of brilliant artists who are maybe bored with their normal jobs, and whatever it is, like taking the wrinkles out of Jim Carrey's neck for Dumber 2 or whatever, right? Like and then see, like, well, let's apply that same kind of ferocious intent onto something that's just like abstract in nature. And that's always been where my interests lie. It's like, well, what can we do that's creative, interesting, and fun, that is rooted ultimately in experimentation? It's like, it's always been sort of where my interests lie. And it's, in some sense, it's a shame that my interest never lay in like, what would be the best pop song that we could write, or what would be the most linear pathway to another heavy metal record. It's like, these things make a lot more sense in 2026 in the music industry, as opposed to let's just bury everything into this abstract, orchestral thing about the changing tides of my life personally and life in general. Dude, it doesn't make any sense to do something like this, but it's what I want to do. So that's what we do. And until such time that we can't, then that's just what I do, and that's what my brand, I guess, represents.
I think it should be that way. I mean, I've always said, like, let the creativity be for the artist and the business end be for the suits. But and I've been on both sides of the fence. But I
Yeah.
remember back in the 80s, I was in LA in the 80s, and a lot of my friends, they were getting signed, and these record labels were telling them how to change their music and change their look. And I was like, yeah, no, I'm
Sustainable.
out. I'm out. That's why I didn't get good at guitar, because I was like, no, I wouldn't want to do that. I would want to be true to me, and you're being true to you.
I am, and I think that the practical realities of it are the things that are the next step for me, because I've got a staff of people, and we got mortgage
Yeah.
and studio and all the lights to keep on and all that. And you get to a point, I think, at a certain stage where you have decisions to make. It's like, in order to take certain steps, it's like, you can be asked to do this, like whatever it is, like something that maybe compromises what your intent is, or maybe put you back in time doing things that you've been over for a long time. Regardless of what it is, dude, it's like those options become like practical considerations at some point. You're just like, okay, we can't continue like this, so do we do this?
Yeah.
Or whatever. And at that point, my whole reason to be has been sort of contingent on that moment, but it just keeps moving forward You know, it's
Yeah.
like I'm just like, okay, I'm going to do this, and by doing this, I'm never going to be able to do this again. So there's been the amount of times that I've chosen to go that route, whether it was strapping back in the day, or Ziltoid, or Empath, or Dream Piece, or whatever. That frame of mind has been like a big part of my trip. And every time I do that, I'm like, okay, damn the torpedoes, let's do this. And then by this time next year, we'll probably be broke and we'll have to like quit. So but it's been 38 years of that. And so
Exactly, you're still here. So
the only thing that is also still here that I would like to see go away is that constant sort of Amber Alert anxiety feeling of like, at any minute the ass is going to fall out of everything, right? Like, but I will say that I'm not alone with that feeling. I'm sure most of us feel that at this point. So I think that for me, the decisions to make these things that are rooted much more in like, frankly, sort of selfish artistic musings, I figured, man, if we're going to have to do this anyway, I might as well just do the things that I want to do, as
Right.
opposed to, utilizing all this stuff to just essentially have a day job that I don't care about. Right.
Yeah. And I mean, that's why I say, if you're going to be an artist, you might as well be true yourself. And then you're going to attract your tribe. You're going to attract the people that appreciate and understand or get something out of what you're doing.
That's the hope. And I would much rather have a smaller group of those than a larger group of people that I'm beholden to for things that I no longer am interested in. Right. So, but I mean, dude, these choices are ones that are not ones to be taken lightly. And
No.
Also they're not ones that happen so far under the surface that you're not aware of them. Right. Like whenever I've made a decision to go in a direction that's like, fiercely non, friendly, it hasn't been one that was an accident. It was like, okay, you can do this if this is what your choice is.
Yeah.
And I've chosen to do that consistently, but no more so than I have with Moth, almost to draw a line in the sand. It's almost like, if by doing this, industry at large is like, yeah, Dev, it's not for us. It's not for any part of the industry, including your demographic, right?
Yeah.
Then at that point, I know that the decision I need to make moving forward is like, okay, well, do you still want to do this?
Yeah.
Because it's like, well, this won't work. But if you go back to, I don't know, like playing metal full time in your mid 50s or whatever, then you can kind of sustain this. There's a part of it that's just like, oh, well, there's my decision then.
Yeah.
But I think that the only way you're going to be able to make a decision like that is to sort of damn the torpedoes and do it.
Yeah. No risk, no reward.
Well, this is it. So basically I built a facility and did the Moth and did Ruby Quaker and did all these things. Not because it's a wise business move, not because this is like some financial plan that I'm, like by doing A to B to C, at the end of it, you don't have to work anymore. It's like none of that plays into it. I'm just I'm like, the only things that interest me when it comes to being a musician now are things like Dream Piece or Moth or any of this abstract stuff, right? So I'm going to do that with my full heart. And if I'm meant to sustain a life as a professional musician, then I'll know. And if I'm not, if it's like, no, it didn't work, you're going to have to scramble to try and keep this going. I'm like, I'd rather not, to be honest.
I don't blame you.
Yeah, I'd rather have a life that was like completely separate from this, like nuke all of this, and then just like say, okay, so the line in the sand for me with the Moth was like, it's either I do this like this with this studio, or I don't do it at all.
Yeah.
And it's like, because the other thing is like, oh, well, you do this and you bring your costs down, you do this, and then you go to the studio and you can do like make sure that you focus on the chorus, or make sure you're screaming more. And I'm just like, dude, I don't want to do that. I just don't want to do it. So, and what would I rather do? Dude, I'd rather do yard work. I'd rather garden. I'd rather, I'd rather focus on mental health or my nutrition or things like that. Those are things that I would prefer to do than struggle to maintain a studio only to do music that I'm no longer interested in. So the line in the sand for the Moth and Dream Piece and Ruby Quaker was just like, I'm putting everything into this, not because I'm hoping that it will succeed, but just because if it doesn't, then it's way more efficient for me to know.
Yeah. And, speaking of, mental health, I mean, if you're an artist, especially, I think if you're not creating the music that is you and your part of your soul, that is not good for your mental health.
It is not good for your mental or physical health, because you're constantly chasing the approval of people who expect you to be something that you're not. So you're an actor all of a sudden, and it's like, for me, I'm just like, I have no desire to do that. Like, and there's no flippancy to that. There's no anger to it. It's just like, okay, at this age, what do you want to do? And so basically I was like, when the Moth came up, and when the idea of like, building a studio or whatever came up, anybody in my world, management, financially, record label, it's just like, I don't know if that's the best thing to do. And I'm like, well, I'm going to do it. And then at the end of it, I'll know.
Yeah. You don't know if you don't try, you don't know anyway. So
this is what I've done. This is what I've done. And so, this record gets released tomorrow. And, if everybody collectively is just like, then I'm like, okay, great. So what's my next step in a year? What's my next step in a year? Because when people are coming back going, you can continue to do things like the Moth if you go out and you do this and you do the, fucking, all this sort of thing. And I'm just like, yeah, but I don't want to. I'm cool with doing things like the Moth. I'm cool with doing things like Dream Piece. I'm cool with doing things like Puzzle. I'm cool with doing things like Axolotl or any of these, like, I'm working on this crazy, like, plug-in product called the Seeker that's like interesting to me. And even that, it's like, I remember bringing this pedal plug-in thing to the people that are going to be building it for us, right? And they're like, it's going to cost a fortune to do this, and it's a super fucking weird product. If you want to make money, why don't you do like a version of a 808 distortion pedal with like just a slightly different tone stack in it? I'm like, because it's fucking boring, dude. Like, I just don't care. There's like 40 of those available now that I don't have to invest in. They're like, yeah, but you can keep a sustainable enterprise going if you do that. And I'm like, yeah, but that's not what I want to do. It's like, I don't want to make pedals. I don't want to make overdrive pedals, but I do want to make this Seeker thing. It's super interesting to me. Yeah. And the same thing, people are going, well, if you go back out and you play metal and you go out and you do this sort of thing with a full band and all this stuff, you can kind of get those tours and keep going. I'm like, yeah, I don't want to do that though. Like,
it's funny you should say that part too, because I have this memory from a couple of years ago that I absolutely love your brutal honesty. I'm like originally from New York and New Jersey, so I like brutal honesty. Okay. And you were doing a press conference at Hellfest, and you were talking about touring and how like not the glorifying of it, but the exact opposite. And it was so funny because like I go and I do radio coverage at festivals all over the US, UK, Europe. And like last year, I don't even think I had a weekend I wasn't at a festival with so much. And people are like, oh, you're living the dream life. And part of that's true.
Yep.
But they don't see the other part of it. Like you talked about in the press conference of like literally it's shit sometimes.
Oh my God, dude. It's like taking a dump in a bag on a 35-degree day with Watain playing in the background at a fucking 140 dB at 12 in the afternoon. You know what I mean? You're just like, dude. But again, this is where it's interesting to me, because the projects like the Moth or the project like Dream Piece or Puzzle or Seeker or any of these things that I'm currently doing, I'm interested in. They're fun. So it's not like, although like anything, there's certain aspects of it that are a struggle and require, tenacity and diligence and whatever. Overall, the things that I'm able to do right now, I'm really like psyched on. Like, it's fun for me.
See, that's the way it has to be, in my opinion. Like I say it all the time, if you're going to be in the music business, you better have that, because otherwise everything else sucks. So you might as well just go do something else.
So this is what I'm saying. So we're gonna find out with the Moth, right? Like if people are just like, yeah, don't give a fuck about this, and rightfully so. Why should they? It's not important. It's just the next thing that I did, right? But if people don't like it, then dude, I know where I'm at, because I'm like, well, it's not getting any more linear than this. I guarantee you. Moving forward, man, it's not gonna go more. This is a 3.5 minute song about how I've loved and lost and learned my lesson or any of that shit. I'm just kind of like, no, man, it's either I make weird ass motherfucking shit and do it with a group of people who are incredibly creative, brilliant people, and we enjoy the process because it's things that are left of center, or I find another thing to do, right? And I'm cool with that. And this is the line in the sand. And and either way, I just want to know. There's no like, oh, that's a shame, or oh, that's surprising. I'm just kind of like, okay, good. Where are we at? I don't want to waste any more time. This is what I do now. This is who I am. You like it? No? Okay, great. Thanks.
Well, when I was listening to it, I was thinking to myself, oh man, he could do like Danny Elfman's doing and do some like Marvel movies or DC movies or something.
I don't play well with others though when it comes to that shit.
I don't even mean you doing them. I mean just this music, like it could apply to something like that, or it just has that whole, like, I just was sitting, I was taking a long drive and I just listened to the whole thing, and I couldn't even tell where the song separated a lot of times. That's the killer about a whole album that's like that, because it's like you are doing so good that you don't even know that you're in a different song. That means you've escaped your reality, and that's what music should do.
Yeah, I think you escape it by confronting it, the reality. And the more that I have spent time with this project and with this frame of mind, right? The frame of mind being specifically, I care about the audience, but my objectives are moving forward. I don't want to do this unless I'm doing something that interests me.
Yeah.
And the distinction between doing music that interests me and music that doesn't interest me is whether or not it applies to my current reality. Otherwise, dude, you're not singing from any reference point of authority. You're acting again. You're making it up. You're like, what would somebody who thinks like this write? And it's like, the people who really follow the career, whether or not they like where I've landed, they're going to know immediately. They're like, oh, he's full of shit.
Well, right? It's funny you should say that, because like somebody I've interviewed a few times, so I'm friendly with Joe from the Vandals. He knows I won't ask a certain question that everybody else asks. So when are the Vandals going to have new music? And he said he'll do like in the interview with me, because he knows I won't ask you. He goes, don't ask me when the Vandals are going to have new music, because nobody wants to see a 50-something-year-old write punk rock music.
Or play industrial thrash metal. I mean, I think it's like now, and I've got to go to this next interview, but
yes.
But now is really the point, not only in my professional history, but I almost think just the world at large, where we've had this opportunity to be thrust into a reflective state on our own lives, on where we place value, what has value at this point, whether it's friends and family, or if it's work, or if it's money, or whatever it is. I think that as a society, we've had the veil sort of removed from these things that we had ascribed value to for so long. Like we didn't even question it. It's like, oh, you become famous, or you go to university to be a doctor or whatever, and then all of a sudden, when those things no longer hold the same kind of like confirmed social collateral that they once did, you're just like, oh shit, okay, so left with this as like an actual option, who are you? What do you want to do? And I'm so grateful for being posed that question in my own life. Would I like to be able to continue doing what I do with the group of people that I have in this place that I've built to do it? Hell yeah. But I don't want to do it if I have to do something that I'm not interested in.
Well, I think it will happen because the Moth is badass. Just
Excellent.
saying. Everybody's got to check it out. And I thank you for like making this creative project that I think is just absolute pure musicianship.
Thank you, brother.
And thanks for being on the Adventures of Pipe Man.
We'll talk to you soon, and thanks again. Hey, this is Devin Townsend, and you are currently listening to The Pipe Man on W4CY Radio.
Thank you for listening to the Adventures of Pipe Man on W4CY Radio.